at 7 p.m. I will call this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Albany to order. And we will start with the land acknowledgement. The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of the Shawn. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home. And with that, we can do the roll call, please.
Commissioner Libanow is absent today. Commissioner Pilch.
Present.
Commissioner Wadi, she's running a little bit late. Vice Chair Momin.
Here.
Chair McLeod.
Here also. And with that, we'll move on to item 3, ex parte communications, which include verbal and written communications between individual commissioners and a party with a real interest in a pending commission decision. Have there been any ex parte communications? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, which is the consent calendar, which are items 4-1, meeting minutes of May 22, 2024, and item 4-2, planning application 24-015-925 Adams Street. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to pull any of these items from the consent calendar? No, not me. Is there any member of the public who would like to pull any of these items from the consent calendar? In the audience, is there anyone online?
We do have a person online. If you're online and would like to address the commission on the consent calendar, please use the raise your hand function. And I'm not seeing any hands raised for this agenda item.
Okay, seeing there are no objections to the consent calendar, we can move to a vote or a motion to approve.
I move the consent calendar.
And I second.
Second by Commissioner Momin, and we will proceed to vote. Commissioner Pilch?
Yes.
Commissioner Momin?
Yes.
And I vote yes also. So that passes. And we will move on to item 5, announcements, communications. Staff, do you have any announcements or communications?
The only announcement I have is what would normally be your second meeting of the month in July will be the first meeting of the Housing Advisory Commission. This will be their inaugural meeting to start their work focusing in on the housing element implementation. As they make progress, we'll be giving you updates all along. But given the relatively low volume of work that we're having right now for the commission, we kind of go with the one meeting a month pattern, with the commission meeting the second Wednesday, and this Housing Advisory Commission meeting on the fourth Wednesday. And we'll bring that back more formally in the fall. Leslie will bring that back to kind of formalize that in the form of a resolution once we get everything confirmed with the Housing Advisory Commission.
So going forward, we will just have one meeting a month for our advisory.
As long as your workload stays as it has for the last 6 months or so, we really don't have enough applications for you to it wouldn't be a good use of your time for what would be otherwise be a very, very brief meeting likely.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me. We don't really have any major policy issues coming up.
Not right now. There certainly will be in 2025 with,
yeah.
There's a lot of work to do, but not right now, at least no.
Okay, fair enough. Anything else? No?
Chair, could I just ask, have any major building permits been pulled by any chance? Or is it pretty much a lull in that?
We're continuing to work on the building permits for the project at 540 San Pablo, the bowling alley site. That is a project that we do expect to move forward, but not anytime soon. We're working through some final details at a modest pace. We're following the pace that the developer is giving us, and they're not in a big hurry, but it would be nice to get it done, kind of work.
Has there been any resolution on the easement, drainage easement issue?
For the relocate, yes. So we have an agreement and a design for the relocation of the storm drain that's presently underneath the building that would go into Clay and Adams.
I see, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Close item 5 and move on to item 6, public comments. For persons desiring to address the commission on an item that is not on the agenda, please note that city policy limits each speaker to up to 3 minutes. The Brown Act limits the commission's ability to take and/or discuss items that are not on the agenda. Therefore, such items may be referred to staff for comment or to a future agenda. Is there anyone who would like to speak?
So we do have 2 speaker cards. Dr. Alpert?
All right, good evening, council members, commission members. I'm Dr. Stephen Alpert, and again request that the city explain why it chooses only to follow the minimum state mandate of notifying those within 300 feet of new construction, regardless of project size, when in fact wider area alerts are permissible. This practice is inappropriate for large multi-story projects which will impact all of Albany. Such was the case for the 5-story modern mixed commercial residential structure proposed for 1600 Solano. Only 73 properties were informed 10 days before hearings for this project. My comments are primarily directed to commission members McClade and Pilch, appointed by Councilmen Jordan and Tiedemann, who, despite legitimate concerns expressed by the constituents and requests for continuance, at a single council meeting, approved the plan for 1600 Solano without approaching the applicants to consider any mitigations whatsoever. Commission members know that California municipalities such as Beverly Hills have expanded their construction alerts to 1,000 feet with notices forwarded 20 days prior to a hearing. Here is the Beverly Hills ordinance. Notice of the meeting shall be provided to owners and residential occupants within 1,000 feet plus block face via standard mail notice within 20 days prior to a meeting. During the May 20 council meeting, Attorney Supermarion defended the city's compliance with the 300 feet state mandate with 10 days notice and related that the city will continue to follow this minimum mandate. Moreover, she asserted that wider notification would pose additional time and financial constraints for city, more likely for the project applicant. I have countered this assertion by doing the math. Briefly, for 1600 Solano, at 63 cents for each notice, mailed to 73 properties, mailing expenses were $46. Assuming Albany enacted a 1,000 feet alert and property densities are similar, 1,000 feet notification would have encompassed 818 properties with a mailing cost of $518. Hardly a major concern for a project applicant. Shown here are the general policy plans for the Beverly Hills Planning Commission to follow. Under land use elements, policy 2.1 mandates that new structures maintain and enhance the character, distribution, built form, scale, aesthetic qualities of the city's distinct residential neighborhoods. Policy 2.4 requires that new construction and renovation of existing buildings contribute to the city's image and complement existing development. As far back as 1978, Beverly Hills created various commercial transition zones to provide for compatible transitions between certain areas where residential and commercial uses
Excuse me,
abound.
your time is up.
I have all but two more statements. For example, the
You
CT3.
know what? We've heard this many times.
No, you haven't.
Your
The public
time is
has not
up.
heard
I'm
this.
Sorry, your time is up.
The public has not heard this. This is what you do with your 3 minutes. You refuse to add this to a city council agenda, so it can be a
I
public
am not
meeting.
refusing anything. I'm following our guidelines. You have 3 minutes. I stated at the beginning of the meeting.
Thank you.
At the beginning of this item.
You'll hear from me
3
again.
minutes.
At every single meeting, I will be here to put the same spiel
That is
over and
your
over and over
choice.
again.
Thank you for your comments. Is there another speaker, please?
Tom Stemek?
Hi.
Good evening.
By the way, it's Steinmack. I'm here, and I've been here before, and it's mainly in support of much of what Dr. Albert has addressed. I'm a 40-plus year resident of Albany. I've had an engineering business, geotechnical business in Albany for 20-plus years. I've come across a lot of homeowners during that time. As I've said probably before, some of them are elderly, some are young and new homeowners. They're not really aware of, and it's very challenging to be on top of all the projects that are going on. And so the request to go beyond the 300-foot. 300-foot limit, by the way, is one block. So the distance between Ventura and Tulare, which I live on, is 300 feet. So it really is not a huge distance. And it's really not a huge distance if there's a major project going on. So I think the request has really been to form a committee that, and a non-biased committee that can say, let's take a look at this and see what it means. The cost is trivial when you look at other construction costs and other building regulations. It's really not very significant. And so I think allowing for that longer distance for major projects really benefits the community in Albany, and it benefits the city too, because you get the input for these projects, or potentially you get the input. So I'm just sort of supporting this consideration, at least evaluating with a committee. Let's see what this means. It seems rather straightforward to me. For some reason, it's apparently it isn't, but it does allow the community to become aware of what's going on around it, and so that's, I think, the consideration of a review committee for the city would benefit everybody. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak?
If anyone online would like to address the commission on public comment, please use the raise your hand function on the bottom of the screen. Thank you. And I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay, with that, we will close public comment, item 6, and move on to item 7, discussion and possible action on matters related to the following items.
Chair, if I may, just one other thing to mention for public comment. Just for the record, the commission did receive an email earlier today from a person just sharing information on an upcoming event at the Rematriation Celebration event by the Segura Land Trust in villages of the Lejeune Nation. Just want to put that into the record.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to actually think of mentioning that during new business, or at some point, but yeah, no, that is excellent. Okay, well, we're about to start item 7-1. We'll give Commissioner Waddy a second a few minutes to get settled. Okay, we have Commissioner Wadi present. Noted. So we'll move on to item 7-1, planning application 24-024, 1045 Kains Avenue, which will be a use permit and design review to lift the front portion of the existing house, et cetera. Does staff have a presentation for us?
Yes, we do, Chair. So as you can see on your screen, so yes, this is a design review and use permit application, which we will go over right now. This slide shows the location, the project location. It's on the east side of Kains Avenue. This is the subject property from street view, and it's adjacent neighboring properties. So basically, the project request is, yes, so first of all, to lift the front portion of the existing split-level residence to convert the existing crawl space into habitable area and to align that existing main lower level with the upper level. So we'll see in the elevation drawings, it'll make more sense. So the maximum existing height is 22 feet 4 inches, and the maximum resulting height would be 23 feet 4 inches. Second, kind of not item, but proposal, I guess, in the scope of work is to construct a two-story addition, small two-story addition at the rear and right southeast side of the home, and a new two-car garage attached to the south side of the house, and to demolish the existing covered front porch and stairs and construct a new, smaller covered porch at street level. So we'll see here. Oh, and so I should say that, yes, these are the entitlements required. It requires a use permit to vertically extend the existing non-conforming 6 foot 9 inch front yard setback and 3 foot 9 inch left north side yard setback, as 15 feet and 5 feet are required respectively per our municipal code. And it also requires design review for the overall proposed construction, as it's lifting the home, so it's the equivalent of creating a second-story addition. All right, so this is the site plan. So as you can see here, the light green showcases the addition at the rear. Basically, it's kind of like completing the shape, I guess, at the rear corner, and the new garage. So that's from site plan view.
5 Kains, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and the dotted part is a new front covered porch. And then the existing elevations, so you can see the home from all sides as it is right now. And these are the proposed elevations. This very faint blue line that you can see here, that's the outline of the existing home. So I kind of like added it for illustration purposes. So as you can see here, it may be a little bit faint here, but it's basically aligning the existing, kind of like main level with the second level addition at the rear, and adding that rear construction, that addition, and the two-car garage. So that's basically the scope. And in this section drawing kind of tells us the dotted line represents the existing house, and kind of like to illustrate what the change would be. Let's see, and yeah, this project exceeds 45% FAR, floor to area ratio, and these are subject to exceptional design as reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the proposed design treatments to retain and enhance the architectural style of the house include it keeps the existing differentiation in the front wall plane and the roof heights between the left and right sides, and it also uses aluminum-clad windows and wood doors with divided lights, decorative roofs to match at the covered porch, and the rear bifold doors and painted stucco to match. So we'll see kind of like the proposed materials and colors here, more like a visual example. And on this project, we have not received any correspondence, any questions from the public. And so staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission review and approve the proposed project, subject to the findings and conditions of approval.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any commission questions for staff?
Yes, so are they really going to lift part of the house and or rather than demolish that part and rebuild?
My understanding is that they are going to raise the ceiling of the existing crawl space. So they're raising that, they're leveling the existing kind of floor on the basement, on the crawl space, I guess. And so they're raising that to create habitable space there. So by virtue of doing that, they're also raising the main story a little bit more to kind of level it and to align it with the existing second story addition. But they're pretty much, yeah, well, yes to everything. They're raising it.
I guess what I'm wondering is the actual framing going to be raised, or will they demolish and just rebuild? I would think they'd demolish and rebuild, but if they're reusing existing framing, that's great.
My understanding is that it's demolishing some interior walls, but they're
Yeah.
basically using the same frame. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's great. I'm sure they have to demolish, it looks like, almost all the interior walls. The interior will be completely different. So wonderful that they can reuse the framing. And then the second question is, they didn't provide any details about the new appliances. Not that they have to, but it looks like, they're completely relocating the kitchen, and so I'm wondering if they're going to go electric or not. Have they given you any details like that?
I don't believe
And is the applicant or architect here by any chance?
the architect was going to join us via Zoom, so I know that he called me earlier today, and so he might have joined already, maybe? His name is Hector? No. So, yeah, so I'm not aware.
Okay.
But you can follow up with me, definitely, and I can
Okay.
reach out to them.
All right, thank you. Those are my questions for now.
Any other questions for staff? No? The applicant is not here or not online either?
So I believe that the architect, as I said, he called me earlier today to see how he could join. I think he's unable to come in person today, but for some reason,
Okay.
We're not seeing the applicant online.
Not virtually here either. Okay, so I guess we won't have any questions for the applicant.
yeah.
Fault.
They say that what he said is that he trusts staff to do a good job. So,
You never know. Sometimes something comes up.
yeah.
Okay, seeing as there are no more questions for staff, we can proceed to commissioner discussion. Is anybody, Commissioner Whiting, please go ahead.
Sure, happy to jump in, and my apologies again for being late today, not like me. But yeah, I just wanted to say I concur with, I think, staff's findings and recommendations, and maybe just add a little additional thought along it. And this is a great slide, I think, to have up. I think the project sponsors team has done a really nice job, both sort of respecting the volume and sort of the intent of sort of the building size that currently exists on the site, but really in the most efficient ways in terms of increasing volume, accommodating an increase, sized home without a huge sort of impact to the public realm or to neighbors. I always get a little nervous on these, on the sort of the lots in Albany that are a little bit wider than some of our average lots, because sometimes I think the scale of the building at the street can sometimes start feeling a little out of proportion and out of scale with neighboring properties that might have, only a 25-foot wide lot or a 35 or 30-foot wide lot. And I think they've done a really nice job here by retaining sort of that more narrow existing scale on the primary building, and then setting back the garage and really differentiating that architecture or the building volume. So I think they've done a nice job doing that, and an efficient reuse of the interior volume of the space. And also really appreciate that they've clearly put some thought into the front porch, which is, I think, always one of our priorities in the design guidelines. And clearly they're using quality materials and, choosing an architectural style that's both sort of its time, but also consistent with architecture found throughout Albany. So for those reasons, I am fully in support of this. And in terms of the use permit needed, my feeling is if you have an existing footprint that has walls that are, non-complying in nature, raising them to accommodate these types of projects is appropriate. So I also support the use permit for those reasons.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Pilch?
Sure, I'll go, and I concur with Commissioner Wadi's comments. I'm happy if they don't, if they actually reuse some of the framing, that's wonderful. Hate to see a lot of waste generated by it during remodels. And I do have one question for staff and then a couple more comments. I remembered that I wanted to ask about in the first attachment or in the staff report, under site regulations, it talks about the setbacks and the area. Under the floor area ratio table calculations, can you tell me what it means? There's a line, a row that says labeled total FAR calculable floor area. And the required says 2,750 square feet max. How is the maximum determined?
So that varies by the size of the lot. So basically, what 55% of the lot would be, that's the maximum that in this case would be allowed. So that number will, inevitably change project to
Okay,
project. Yeah.
it varies based on the application, yeah, based on the lot. Okay, great, thank you. And then the only other thing I wanted to say is that it's unclear whether they're going to take the opportunity to electrify when they do this. I would encourage them to do so, and if you could pass that along to the applicant, that would be great. And finally, I wanted to ask staff, we don't really have any incentives in place to encourage applicants to electrify during remodels, do we?
Not for a remodel. We do have incentives for replacement of existing gas-fired appliances, but
Yeah.
for something like this, I don't believe we have anything that's applicable.
Yeah, it strikes me if there are models out there of jurisdictions who have found a way to encourage electrification during remodels, it might be great to consider some reach codes for that sort of thing, and really continue to push the electrification in a big way. So that does it with my comments, and I support this project. Thanks.
Commissioner Moment, any comments?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I do like the project. I think it has been done very smartly. Not only, they have taken advantage of the existing non-compliant setback, but the way they have, modified it without, making a huge impact on the bulk of the house is really commendable, I think. There has not been, a huge increase in bulk as compared to the increase in the FAR, I think, which is very efficient. They have done a great job on efficiently developing the plan. It's very spacious and nice, but they also have done a great job on developing the articulation of the architecture. It's a great improvement from what it is currently. The entrance and I like the consistency of the fenestration and the entries. The garage door, the main entry door, window have kind of same language, which I think gives a nice congruence to the design. And also like the way the garage has been added, there was a kind of a big hole in the street wall, so it kind of creates a nice piece, articulated piece between the two houses, which I think kind of gives a nice continuity to the street wall. One thing I would like to recommend is there is a lot of concrete paving on site, the proposed concrete, and that kind of contributes to heat island effect and also increases a lot of stormwater runoff. So if we can recommend using some permeable surface, that would be really helpful. It could be permeable pavers or grass pavers, anything that absorbs water and reduces the heat island effect, I think would be really a great value addition to the design. Yeah, other than that, I don't have anything to offer. It's a great project, nicely designed. I support it.
All right, thank you. I guess I would just agree with everything that's been said. I would chime in that the front elevation looks drastically better than it did in the original. I would like to compliment them on that. And I also appreciate that the garage is set back a little bit so that it's not foreground, it's background. Could you show us the site plan? Is there a site plan? I'd like to just look at, yeah, that is a lot of concrete. That's an excessive amount of concrete, I would say.
Commissioner, Chair,
And I
sorry.
don't see a planting plan. Is there a planting? Where
So,
is that?
so here on the PowerPoint presentation, we don't usually include the landscape plan. Maybe
okay.
we should have in this case.
Okay, I'm
But yeah, just so you know, the whole, kind of like blank area at the rear,
Yeah.
that's landscaped. It's lawn. And they're also proposing at the front new plantings. And it includes like a Japanese maple tree. So the front is going to be like very nicely landscaped, and they're going to leave the lawn area at the rear. So, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a quick question just on sort of that train over there. Has their landscape plan, and I'm sorry if I missed it in the packet, it might have been there, but was there the inclusion of any like native plants? I know that's something that's often encouraged in the design guidelines, and sometimes we always look at rather than just, water intensive grass.
Hasn't there a change in policy, like the landscape plan is now part of the conditional what do they call it? Conditions of approval?
Oh, it is?
And not as, part of the presentation. That's what I think.
Okay, I didn't see it, but I scrolled through some of the conditions quickly. Maybe staff could verify whether the landscape plan is actually in our packet.
Let me see if I can pull it up and share it with you all. Let's see. You can pull it
yeah,
up?
I can pull it up.
Okay.
Let's see here.
So what I was going to say is I think we've all often conditioned that as something for, applicant to continue working with staff on a more robust sort of native drought-tolerant landscape plan. And so I would be very supportive of including that in addition. So I think that's a really good point you brought up, Commissioner.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Still is a lot of concrete. And there are applicants are supposed to do a permeability calculation, I think, hardscape.
As part of the building permit process, our green building code does, I forget exactly the requirements, but that is something we look at in the building permit phase.
There are limits to how much impervious hardscape there can be, if I recall correctly.
And to, wherever possible, to use the permeable materials. So there is a landscape plan, and then there is a planting list.
Yeah, okay.
I can-
Well, I would encourage more permeable paving. The more water that can get absorbed into the ground is better. Less into the storm sewers, better for our water table, better for the plants, et cetera.
Oh, yeah, there's the list of plants there. They list the Selenothus. I wonder if they mean Ceanothus, which is the California lilac. Japanese maple certainly wouldn't qualify, I don't think, as a native. So we know that for sure.
Let's see, I've lost my train of thought. Yes, and I would follow up on Commissioner Pilch's point about electrification. This is a perfect opportunity to electrify the whole house. All the appliances will be new. The heating, water heating systems will be new. So it is absolutely the perfect time to do it. And there are a lot of incentives. There are, in fact, AREN and tech incentives that can add up to quite a lot of money, and there are federal incentives, and there are federal, I'm not sure about federal rebates, but there are federal tax credits for a lot of this stuff. And I would be surprised that our rebates are not applicable to replacement, because it is, in a sense, replacement.
I was asking about incentives. I think they still can
The
take advantage
rebates.
of rebates on appliances, yeah.
I'm trying to, most of the applications, by the time I see them, that most of them are replacement of in an existing home. Whether an applicant could come in and apply for our program as well as the others in new construction, I'd like to double check that. It may very well be that's the program, but it's, as Chair McLeod points out, it's not as much of a cost issue when you have a larger project. You're changing the electrical panel, you're moving walls around and everything anyhow, so there's less of a barrier to doing it in a large-scale remodel like this anyhow, to begin with, so the value of the incentive is a little less.
And possibly you wouldn't have to lay any new gas pipe and could throw gas pipe away.
Well, you save on the gas piping and gas work, so that helps cover the costs of the electrification. So, having said all that, I would see if we have a motion.
I just want to,
Anything else?
I'm happy to make the motion. I also just want to thank Commissioner Moman for pointing out all the concrete and landscaping plan. I also am concerned about that. It sounds like that'll be evaluated in the, during the application phase, but if they could be encouraged to use as much permeable paving as possible, that would be great too. And in fact, maybe that's something we need to work on as well as part of our climate action plan. So I'll go ahead and move planning application PA 24-024 for this is 1045 Kains Avenue. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we will proceed to a vote. Commissioner Moman?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Wadi?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so that motion passes 4-0. So item 7-1, planning application 24-024, 1045 Kains Avenue has been approved. And there is a 14-day appeal period. I don't know, there are no story polls up for this one, or there are?
Yes.
The story polls should remain up for 14 more days. Okay, with that, we can move to item 7-2, and I...
Chair, just want to check if the person in the audience is here for 1045 Kains, or maybe it's the other project.
Sir, hello? Are you here for, which item are you here for?
925. You come early.
We did it.
Oh, yeah. All good, approved.
Been approved.
I don't know why you have to move. It doesn't make sense.
Why we have to do what?
It doesn't make sense.
Oh.
Because my house is 919, and the
Oh.
building very high, and they put a solar, everything is what you call not transparency. So when the light come in, it block my house. My solar doesn't work. But if this solar working, it means it will make the transparency. So this solar will work and my solar work. It benefit both sides. But it will make the, what you call, the blocking the area on the top.
So,
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that item's been decided, so. And it was more of a technical item tonight as well. It was just a lot line condo conversion, not actual
I don't
design.
know, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, sorry, we're going to move on to our next item.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But no, I don't know, this country should be perfect, but not perfect. Honestly.
okay, all right, thank you. All right, we're moving on to item 7-2, and I will have to recuse myself. So I will pass it over to Commissioner Moman,
Okay, thank you.
co-chair, vice chair.
Yep. So I'm doing this for the first time, so please bear with me if I do something that doesn't follow the procedure. So let's move on to item 7-2, planning application 24-0251, 71 Pomona Avenue. I request planning staff to share a presentation for the project.
We do, Vice Chair. So yes, it's very similar in many ways to the previous application in that both require a use permit and design review as well. So we'll go into that. That's a project location on Pomona, on the west side of Pomona Avenue. That's the subject property from street view. And the drawing that we see there, the elevation is the proposed, not the existing. The project requests to lift the existing two-story residence to convert the existing basement and part of the garage to habitable space. It's going from a maximum existing height of 20 feet 1 inch to a resulting height of 23 feet 5 inches. Also includes constructing a small 25 square foot addition along the left south side of the first level to align its exterior wall with the existing second level wall. It's just aligning it, so it's popping it out a little bit, and to enclose the existing 78 square foot covered entry porch to expand the second floor. It requires, as I said, a use permit to extend the existing non-conforming 12-foot 7-inch front yard setback where 15 feet are required. And design review for the overall proposed construction, as by lifting the home, it's the equivalent of a second-story addition. That's the project from site plan view. You can see the light super thin line at the top, light green is the first level addition to align the wall to the second story, upper story wall. And also the light blue is the enclosed porch for the second level addition. And these are the existing elevations and the proposed elevations. As was the case with the previous presentation, I added a very faint outline. Maybe it was way too faint, but I didn't want to compromise the drawing. So it's the outline of the existing home, just to see what it is. Basically, in this case, they're literally lifting the whole home. They're just lifting it to make room at the basement. They're not making like any more significant additions. And they're also, as the staff report says, they're also enhancing the front facade, especially I feel, with the fenestration and with the materials proposed as well in different architectural details. That's in section drawing. The dotted line kind of represents how much of the house is being lifted. And this is also exceptional design review. So I should also mention, and I forgot to mention it, while you guys were discussing the landscape for the previous project, that projects which exceed 45% FAR must include a landscape plan, either if they don't include it in the design review plan, it has to come in the building permit. But it's a requirement, so it was included in this set. So the proposed design treatments to retain and enhance the architectural style of the house include keeping the existing building envelope and roof lines, using a mixed palette of materials and colors, including stucco, fiber cement, vertical board batten, and trim at the front facade, compositions, shingled roofs, fiberglass clad recessed windows and wood doors with simulated divided lights and a standing seam roof at the covered entry porch. These are the proposed materials and colors, as you can see here on the color elevation drawing. And we did not receive any correspondence for this project either. And staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission review and approve the proposed project subject to the findings and conditions of approval.
Okay, thank you. Does any commissioner have any questions with the planning staff?
Sure. Oh, questions. We're on questions. No questions.
Is the applicant or architect available by any chance? Looks probably not.
This was actually, the architect happens to be the property owner as well, but I don't see her.
Not seeing anyone online.
All right, thank you for letting me know.
No questions?
No questions.
Any member of public have any questions?
If anyone online would like to address the commission on this project at 714 Pomona, please use the raise your hand function. And I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay, with that, any commissioners' comments for the project?
Sure, happy to jump in and opine. To me, this project, it's kind of nice that these are on the same agenda. The item before and this is, I think they're really similar, similar projects, sort of similar asks, and I think somewhat similar executions. I think similar approaches here. So kind of reiterating many of the same things I said for the other project. You know, I appreciate that they're sort of doing the least amount of net new volume to accommodate sort of the most pragmatic, usable space of the home. So I sort of appreciate that efficiency, and to me, that's a big part of the trade-off too for justifying, you know, exacerbations of non-conforming walls and use permit needs. Is that they're trying to be sensitive, and also from sort of an environmental perspective, not just, you know, scrapping the home and rebuilding from fresh. So for all of those reasons, and again, I think they've done a nice job with the architecture. Of, again, making it contemporary but also contextual. And for those reasons, I support the project and the findings as drafted by staff.
Thank you, Commissioner Wardy.
Yeah, I agree with those comments from Commissioner Wadi. I do also appreciate that we have a very detailed and complete set of plans to look at, including a lighting and wiring diagram. The lighting diagram always thrills me to see. Unfortunately, I was a little sad to see that they're going to be using vinyl flooring. I don't think we have any prohibitions against that, but it's just a personal preference. That's I'd rather not see that. And they do look like they're going to take the advantage of electrification by adding a heat pump, but then they are going to go ahead and use gas appliances. I think I saw a gas dryer and a gas water heater mounted on the outside. So if they have an outside what is it? What's it called? The instant water heater. If it's mounted outside, they certainly have room outside then to put in a little shed for a heat pump water heater. So again, I would recommend that they go full electric. It's another, again, it's a similar project where they're probably going to be replacing all the appliances. So I would encourage that, but otherwise, yes, I support this project. And did staff plan it that we were going to have two lifts applications at the same time? It's really funny, but they're great applications. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pilch. I agree most of the comments that Commissioner Wardy and Commissioner Pilch has offered. I support the project as designed. I agree that that's a great improvement in the architectural character of the house, the fenestration, the addition of the new porch. Everything adds great character to the house. So I support it as proposed. So with that, we can move to voting.
Sure, I make a motion to approve planning application 24-025 at 714 Ramona.
And I can second that.
Okay, and so we can move to voting now. Okay, Commissioner Wardy?
Aye.
Yes.
Pilch?
Yes.
Yes, and I yes too. And so with that, with that, planning application 24-025 71 Pomona Avenue has been approved. There is 14-day period for
14-day
appeals.
appeal period where the story poles should stay up.
Okay, yeah. So that's it.
And we can let the other commissioner back in.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I hand it over to.
Pardon?
I hand it over to Commission Chair.
Okay, I'm sure you did an admirable job. All right, let's move on to item 8, new business. I just had two quick things. I had a request from Commissioner Pilch to review the heating or heat pump setbacks where our current code doesn't allow heating equipment or those kind of things in the 5-foot setbacks, whereas many other cities do allow it. And so I agree we should review that. I don't know if that's something we have to review or it's something staff can do on their own, or.
It would need to come, it's part of the planning and zoning code, so yes, it would need to come back to the commission.
But doesn't it also depend on the product? Because some products need 5 feet clearance in front in order for it to be work efficiently. And so sometimes like where the exhaust is, if it has vertical upward exhaust, that might work. But if it doesn't, because they have specific requirement, they need like 1 foot between the wall and the unit, and sometimes 5 feet in front. So it depends, like there might be some products
Yeah, I mean,
available which work with
think
that.
The
And some-
discussion would be about where the equipment is allowed to be placed, and then if the manufacturer's installation instructions are up to the applicants to figure out, I think.
Well, I had just gotten some feedback from the public that given our small, sometimes narrow lots, that the 5-foot setback could presented an issue for certain people who wanted to install what's an important piece of what's something important to fight climate change. And so maybe, given what we've discussed tonight, we could think about bundling up a number of potential changes like this in together, so staff doesn't have to do one by one. Maybe for a future date to consider, codes to improve our code to better adhere to climate change principles.
And then Commissioner Pierce said, one of the requests he made to me, which was to have a staff presentation of waterfront land use policies and potential, I guess, would be the right way to look at it.
Yeah, and I understand this is, my understanding of what's happening is that there's not much there's not much public right now, or maybe not much known at all, if anything, about what's going to happen to the Golden Gate Fields property. My understanding is, though, that a presentation that the City Council has requested to talk about it at some point soon. So I don't want the planning staff to necessarily do extra work. Perhaps if there's work being done for a presentation for the council, that could also be brought to us so that we don't give staff extra work. But discussing the land use and some of the background, like Measure C, which probably Commissioner Moman's not familiar with, I think would be important to do for this body at some point.
Yep. Both items happy to bring to you, and both of them would be substantive discussion items, I think.
Okay, that's it for me for new business. Anyone else have any items? Okay, we'll close item 8. Item 9 is next meeting, Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. So we basically have the usual July recess plus half. I mean, usual August recess plus half of July. So there we go. And with that, I will call this meeting adjourned. And we will see you again.
Enjoy the rest of the summer. Stay
Yeah,
cool.
have a nice summer.
Everybody.
Thank
all.
you.
Bye.